7:01.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Deb said she would be about 5 minutes late, so we'll go ahead and start without her. Everyone's present in person except for Deb.
And Ann, I would like to just make a quick introduction too during the
Sure,
roll call.
sure.
And then we have a new cataloger, and Michelle DeVries is here at the meeting, and she's then going to just come and get introduced, and then I think head back. She wants to keep going.
You've started already?
A lot of reading and watching training, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
A little information overload right now.
Started
Yeah.
yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yep.
Okay. Well, welcome.
So, yeah. Michelle worked since 2007 in the finance office here at City Hall, and now she's at the library. So already on her second day, she helped Zach make paper. So she's having more fun, I think, in the library than she ever had in finance.
Well, of course.
Go back make more paper.
Well, welcome.
Yeah.
Nice to have you.
Should we do a quick round of who we are?
Oh, yeah.
Ann Temple.
Emma DeVos.
Diana Goldhammer.
Kenny Neff.
Steve Race.
Got it.
And Deb Everson is
And
also
Deb's not here yet.
not here.
Yeah. Oh, good. All righty.
Okay.
Next is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes?
No.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the agenda
Move
as
to approve
written?
agenda as printed.
Second.
All
Wow.
right, all in favor of that, say aye.
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 Okay. Minutes, have y'all had a chance to look those over? Are there any changes or additions to the minutes?
I did not receive any comments from anyone.
Okay,
Move to approve.
Second.
okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're on to the director's report. So you're on, Kevin.
Okay. I guess, did everybody get a chance to read through any questions?
Multicultural programming.
Just as I stated there, yeah, in fact, I asked Ada this afternoon if she has heard anything more from them, and she has not. We're still waiting. We threw it back in their court to look for some cheaper transportation. I mean, I had done a search, of renting 15-passenger vans and found that you could rent one for like less than $100 a day plus 30 cents a mile. And it'd be probably 300 miles roughly from Sioux City to Mitchell and back, so that'd be $90, for the mileage, and then so renting two vans even at that rate would be less than $500. So, but Ada had emailed and left and texted and she's waiting to hear back. So.
What would they be coming up for? Is it part of some other programming, or is it just a one-off event?
Well, it would be kind of the Hispanic Heritage Month. It runs September 15th to October 15th. So it would be kind of the library promoting kind of a kickoff to that in Mitchell, and trying to be more welcoming to the Hispanics who are in the community.
Are there other activities that we'll do during that month?
We have not planned any as of yet. I mean, we certainly would do, a couple of, multicultural readings, story times. And
Yeah.
so that would be our big one. Hopefully, some other organizations would do some things as well. And, as I said in here, we talked a little bit last month. I mean, we would also be looking for some, partner organizations to help cover like some of the transportation costs. And they are
back at the chamber's aware that.
Okay.
we
Yeah.
do this
And
From a workforce standpoint.
And we also would need to feed them, so I was planning on, once we know if we can get a reasonable price on transportation. Because last month, when, they had gotten a price on a cruiser bus, getting a cruiser bus that would bring them here, and that was like $2,500. No.
So are they a group that presumably travels often? I mean, this isn't something.
They are, well, they're a group that, they're from Sioux City, but they go out and about and put on a Hispanic, Mexican, or Hispanic traditional dancing. They wear, traditional costumes, that type of thing.
Where in the library would they?
No, we would plan to do it
Do it on the
on the plaza.
Oh.
The one issue would be rain, but, we would hope that, we'd plan to have it there, and then we'd come up with the backup. We can't have the Corn Palace as a backup because there's a meal banquet going on that evening, so it would not be, the stage would not be available because they'll be preparing for that.
And
So-
how many members is it?
I think there's about 30, up to 30. But that's what two 15-passenger vans would work,
Okay.
should work.
How many people do you think we could get to come down and watch it?
Well, by getting a couple of, trying to get some partner groups, then, they would be able to promote it to their, if they have some skin in the game, they would promote it. We talked last month, I think it was Diana who mentioned about promoting it to, some of the dance schools here in town.
Oh, yeah.
And we would certainly promote it to the Hispanic community as well. So, I would hope that, last summer at some of our summer programming, we had even one time up to 300 people. And I would hope that we'd have 100 to 150 people at least.
I think you're right. I think organizations like the Chamber, which is Main Street, we can push it out on their Facebook groups. It's much wider reach, isn't it, that way?
Yeah, but we need to confirm that we can actually get them here for a reasonable amount of money first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, is that we need to, so that's why we're still working on that. And we've thrown it back at them, asking them to do some investigating there. Ada suggested talking to a dealership there that may rent, or, they could even go to the airport, the car rentals at the airport, and see if they have any 50-passenger vans. So.
Moving on to the accreditation one.
Uh-huh.
I was wondering, does it count if you've been teaching about management issues?
I don't think so.
Okay. I was thinking
Does
that
it count if I?
If it would maybe,
had 12 hours of training at Innovative Systems for management?
well, that's the kind of thing, would you, that's the kind of thing that if you have had that, send it to me and I will,
Last week,
yeah.
8 hours one day, 4 hours the next day.
So, any type of management, first aid, thinking back to what Brenda talked about, she said those types of, certainly library-specific training, but, she also mentioned, first aid training, general things that we also need to go on. For me, I got my certification right away when I started, but, so over 3 years, I have to get so many hours. If I go to SDLA conference, I would get those, but the CPR first aid training, about 3 hours of training that the city had all employees go through earlier this spring.
I'm sure I should have that before the end of the year.
That kind of
which would
stuff.
be, I don't know what that would be for
We did this
me.
before as a board, and I don't
Yeah.
know if anybody currently was on at that point. And we did like a couple online modules, and then we had city attorney present to us about library state law issues, and they said that counted, so we got a half an hour times 6, we got 3 hours for
Yeah.
that in one meeting.
Well, and
A couple other things that we did to get the 15 hours or whatever level we were going, whether it's 15 or 30, I can't, we might even.
yeah, we need to do 30,
30 at
15 to get, yeah.
We might even
the
got 30
essential.
at one point because we were asked to go through and do some 1-hour modules online, something that we did. And it wasn't real tough, and I think we might have made 30 hours, I think, at one point. But the continuation of it and making it routine as part of our,
Is it 30 hours a year or 30 hours every 3 years?
There are 3 levels of accreditation. The essential basic level, I will call it the basic level, is 15 hours. The next level is 30 hours, and then the next level is 45 hours. And to get initial, again, we'd have to do it by, October.
and then how long is
And then
that
it's
last?
3 years, that lasts for 3 years. So we have, that's another reason why I guess I see if we go for the essential, the basic level of accreditation now, we'd be able to more easily achieve the 15 hours for that. And then we could go for some of the higher levels. I was a little surprised. There are other, libraries our size that are not accredited. Pier is, I think Huron is, I don't think Aberdeen is, Watertown is, but I don't know if Brookings is. I don't remember the list. So I think, it's something that we can say we're accredited by the state library here in Mitchell and just use it as a promotional thing too.
And are you going to the state conference?
I was looking at it and I just realized the dates are the same as the core trust trip to Boston and Canada, and we've signed up for that.
Oh, sure. And are you going?
Am I going or are you running on that?
No.
When is it?
28 through 30.
I'm too. We're going to East Coast.
So, yeah, Denny had told me he was interested in going, and had he, just even with the 1.25 hours we all got last month from having a 15-minute conversation with Brenda, and then if Denny would have gotten 14, 15 hours, we would have easily achieved that. So now we'll all have to hold together and do some, I know that there are some 1 hour, some webinars that I could send out. I could invite city attorney, because I know he has been going around even talking to
He's been
different
talking to people,
boards
boards.
about proper board
Etiquette procedure.
etiquette and how to word motions and that type of thing.
The
So that,
positive and not the negative. Yeah.
so we could even do that.
Does it have to be management?
No, I guess I'm just thinking, if it's not library-specific types of issues, just from what Brenda said, it would be things that you would, how to oversee, manage a department or an organization, first aid,
Can it be computer security type things? Is
I would,
that-
yeah, I think that would be,
Because I have some of those already, I just didn't print any of the certificates. So
yeah.
I don't know if I still can, but I would give those to you.
Yeah, if you can, tell me about them and I'll mark them down, but if you have some type of documentation, that would just be easier too.
Trying to send you the
Yeah,
outline.
yeah.
of what we-
Because again, for my certification, even last week or the week before, in the city, departments heads and supervisors had a 2-hour training on how to be aware of people who may be under the influence, coming to work under the influence of some type of substance.
Oh, I just
Be
did
it-
that today. I just did that today. And it also included not active shooter, but like hostile situations.
Yeah, and
that's
that
more
was
for my
something,
work environment, but it carries over.
but it would carry over. And that was something that, active
It does.
shooter
Shooter
Shooter was
training.
one that counted
that,
Or, yeah.
that Brenda specifically mentioned last month when she was here. So anything like that, if you have any type of,
Oh,
if you did it, send me the information, I'll put it in the spreadsheet, but if you have any type of documentation that we could just use for support, that would be great.
You should also send out those webinars.
And I will send out some links to some things, yeah.
Any other questions for Kevin on the director report? Or do you have any other comments?
Gene and Zach, gearing up for summer reading programming next Monday for adults. Zach will be taking registrations and we'll be getting ready. And as you know, Cindy Minen is retiring, but she has worked in advance to create some programming, mainly take and goes, craft type things that she has all ready for the rest of us to distribute and hand out through the summer, and she's going to be starting to distribute those even now next week before because next week will be her last week. I also, just a couple of things. Zach wanted me to invite you all, if you want to, after this meeting at 6 o'clock. He's doing a program of making recycled paper. And so if you all want to get your hands gooey and make some recycled paper, that's going on tonight. And then this Thursday, Noel Hamill will be at the library, and we're hoping for a large turnout there. He was at the Carnegie last Friday, and they had over 100 people there.
Talking about his book?
Yeah.
That's good.
And he won't have copies, and we still don't have our copy. We've ordered, but the vendors don't. Even Amazon, it's back ordered.
What time is it?
It is at 6 o'clock Thursday.
And it says with the newly installed sound system, but then there was a note about something on
Yeah,
not working right yet or something?
we ordered an amp that had the capability of 2-channel output so that we could have, because we have the divider in the community room, so we wanted to have the ability to have sound separately, and one of the output channels was not putting out sound. So I've contacted the vendor and manufacturer, but we're expecting a lot of people. We wanted to have it installed, and so I inserted the wiring for both sides, of the room speaker into the channel that's working. So we have sound in the whole place. We just can't have sound out of both channels. So that'll be something to work on next week. And then statistics, normal are, we had over 3,500 people in the library last month. Circulation was down a little bit about 1,500 from the month before. I think part of that could be in March. Some of our increased circulation was hopefully due to the Winter Reading Challenge, the Bookopoly, because we had a lot of people reading for that. But I think if circulation over the summer, like we do a big push, does what we hope, we should be hopefully back up over 100,000 checkouts this year. And library traffic in April, was about 1,000 more. We're we're averaging about 1,000 more this year per month than last year, which is a great trend. So, and I'll also just point out, I'm pleased with our revenues as well. I mean, we're only, after 4 months, we're $10,000 away from last year, and last year's amount included that $1,000 donation from the family that I deposited in January, and this year it came in early, so it was their $1,500 deposit a donation for 2021 was deposited in December. So those two large donation amounts were deposited both in 2021, and we're still doing that well for this year. So that's my report.
Very positive stuff,
Thank you.
All right, then moving on, we've done the stats. Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the director's report? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, that has passed. On to the financial reports and approval of bills, Kevin?
Okay. Bank statement. And we spent more in April than we took in, but that was, for summer programming and in children's program that you had previously approved. And then for the library budget from the city, we're a third of the way through, and for salaries, for current expenses, and for capital outlays, we're just under 33%. I mean, total, we're at 30.5% for salaries. Current expenses, we're just over 30% and just over 31% for capital outlay. So we're kind of on track there. And then all of the detail of what was spent out of each.
Okay, anyone have any questions or concerns about the financial report? Okay, can I have a motion to accept the financial report and approval of bills?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so moving on to number 7, business items. There's just the one where I asked Kevin to kind of do a little survey. We've talked about this in past months, and maybe just have a little more discussion on, should the board meetings be every month?
It's interesting that everybody else is doing it.
I know, I did think that was
That
interesting.
seems to be the norm then, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I also looked at, not everyone, but some of their agendas, and their agendas seem to be fairly similar to our agendas, where there's a director's report, they go over the bills and the financial reports, and I mean, there are times when they have funding requests of their own money to spend and other projects, and the director keeps them up to date on what other projects or how things are going. So I don't think we're doing anything drastically different from what others are doing. But I mean, Denny was in, and I asked him today, and if everybody's comfortable with meeting less, or at one point we also said, we could still schedule the monthly meetings, but if there's not a huge agenda, like we did in February, we canceled, we didn't have the meeting. And then we could go over the reports. I can still send out a written update to the board to keep you up to date on what's happening. But, if we meet on a monthly basis, then just going over the reports won't take as long as going over 2 or 3 months worth of reports too. So,
Thoughts?
I like the connection of having monthly meetings. I think we are more involved and have a better idea what's going on.
It's a good point.
Anybody else?
I don't mind if you skip one or two. I don't think you should go 3 or 4 months without a meeting,
I think that-
well, in state law and our,
but.
on our,
We quarter
um,
meetings, right?
yeah, we have to meet quarterly. Our bylaws too require that.
So maybe just continue to do the monthly meeting, and then
If there's one.
if there's not, then you email and say,
Well, and-
Ask us if it's
yeah,
okay
do we
with
need
that.
to have one?
Yeah,
Because this
I
is
mean,
all
I,
we got.
like in February, I consulted Ann then, and Ann said, yeah, let's just not have it
Yeah.
then.
As I say, this.
I
outside of
consulted.
This, we have nothing on the agenda outside of the works.
Right. This time.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
I'm open to whatever everyone thinks. I mean, I don't dislike coming to meetings, but at the same time, if you have to put out a report every month, I think that was kind of what we were trying to get away from, was you having to compile that report every month. So if you're gonna do it anyway, you might as well have the meeting, but if we could do a bi-monthly report, is that what we call it, it's every other month? Every other month, and you would only do a report every other month, then I think it would be a time savings. If you're gonna put together the report every month, I don't see that there's a savings in time.
And you're right, that was our reasoning, wasn't it? We were trying to save you time and not
Yeah.
having to spend so much time doing paperwork every month.
Well, know that we put together all the statistical reports every month, and we continue to do that, and, I mean, because we want to track things on a monthly basis, so then, I mean, the tables, the graphs, I do that anyway, because, you know, I don't need to keep that up, and putting together a written report, I mean, it's also, I think, for me, it's a useful activity, and also just letting you know. And I mean, then if there's another group that, you know, asks for a presentation, you know, I can review, because I've informed you all. But I mean, I can certainly do that on a every other month basis. I guess I would still feel, like Denny says, the monthly meetings, I would still want to keep you involved or keep you informed of what we're doing, so that you're just not thinking, I'm on the library board, and what are they doing? They're not telling me anything.
What if, here's a random thought, thinking out loud. What if every other month we had an actual meeting where we come to the chambers, have the recorded live meeting, and then every other month we had an informal, unbusiness meeting where we met at the library, so we could tour the library and see what's going on at the library. So we'd still meet, we'd have the connection, but we wouldn't have the business meeting every month. Just throw that out.
Formal, public invited meeting.
Yeah,
Well, and we could maybe also do some training.
yeah, we could maybe.
You know, I mean, show you all, okay, hey, here's a database, or here's
That'd be fun.
something
Yeah,
too.
I like that idea a lot, because I think it would be nice if we did get the chance to spend more time at the library.
And then since we're trying to do this, you know, accreditation,
Yeah.
that would be a great way to
Yeah,
get it in.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Do that.
Are there certain months where we would need to have a meeting, like a business meeting, or are there months that,
July is our annual meeting that's specified in the bylaws.
so odd months we would have an actual meeting, and even months we would have a library training meeting?
And
I mean, something that's easy to remember, so we're not, are we at the library, are we at the chambers, are we at the library, chambers?
Yeah,
So then-
135, 7, 9,
Yeah.
11.
next month at the library, we'll plan a fun,
Yeah, I would love to,
Yeah.
I would love to have you guys give us training. I mean, have Zach do training on something, have you do training. I mean, each of your staff is a professional in their own right. I mean, I think that'd be really fun. We could be a model for the whole state.
Now, there's a cool idea.
I love how your
Steve's
mind
rolling
works.
his eyes at me.
And
So-
In addition to
Not my
that,
goal.
if on the even months there is some business that does come
Sure.
up,
But it is.
We can still do it.
I do like
revert back to a business meeting.
Yeah.
I'm just
So-
wondering if you say,
It does seem, because I was on the board since 2012, and it seems different meeting as the library board here. I don't get the connection.
Yeah. Well, in all of the other,
But I understand why the city asked to do it, so that we can have the recordings, and it's, the meetings are better, but we still could have it every other month and then do our library stuff at the library.
yeah,
Field trip.
yeah.
well, not
Um,
onsite, it would be the onsite.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all of the other libraries boards meet at their library, and I don't know that they have, when I,
What did you say, even months?
Odd
is
months meet
odd.
here.
Okay.
Since
Even
July
months
is our, since
Yeah.
July is our mandatory annual meeting, so we do that in July here. So since that's an odd, have all the odds here and the evens at the library.
Right.
And keep the days and times the same.
Yeah.
And so if someone shows up at the wrong place,
We'll text them.
it'd be
Well, we
me,
could have-
it might be
we could have someone
me.
here put a sign on the door that said library meets at the
We
library.
don't, if.
No,
not
it's
having
not a
formal
meeting.
We don't even
No.
have to post it.
Okay, there we go.
yeah.
We could say that the board is having training at the library on a particular day, and it can be on the website and Facebook and however else
Love
we
it.
want to do it, but it doesn't have to be the formal posted
Meeting.
minutes and all that type of stuff if we're not, because no decisions can be made.
Sure,
But
Yeah.
we still can certainly have discussion and learn and everything else, and I think that's,
is there food allowed in the library? We can have cookies.
Mhm.
you know,
In the community room.
community.
You are just full of good ideas, Diana.
Now, this isn't an agenda item, but this is just a board meeting question. Would you all be willing to have a special meeting in a few days? Because I have an agenda item, but I couldn't put it on this. I just came up with it today, but I couldn't, you can't add an agenda item to a public meeting. But we have to, in preparation for getting the end panels for the shelving, there's some children's shelving that we want to move, because we have two of the, Gene would say ugly, but, taupe, the dark kind of brown colors are on the outside, and then we have the three bright colored rows of shelves on the inside, and we want to flip and put a bright color, then the dull color, and then the bright color, then the dull color, then the bright color. And in order to do that most efficiently, well, we have to move all of the books off those shelves so that we can empty them and then lift them up onto dollies and move them around. And so we are wondering if we could have an in-service day where the library is closed and we can get that done. But that would take then a special meeting for you to have just one agenda item and approve
You want to do that before our next?
We are
Yeah,
hoping
okay.
to, we are thinking that if we could, I don't know, they said it would be 12 to 14 weeks, and it's been over a month, so it could be, in another 6 weeks. And looking at the calendar, we were thinking Friday, July 10th would maybe be a day
You
that,
want us to have an agenda item to authorize the closure of a
yeah, because I don't think,
in-library workday,
Yeah.
not open to the public.
yeah. Yeah, but, yeah, because, there are other,
As an online meeting.
yeah. I can't, because I think you all need to authorize the library being closed a day. We can't do that, but it would take a special meeting because I couldn't add it to the agenda.
Can we do an online email meeting, or is that not allowed?
It
Or a
could be a
single-
Zoom meeting that we would
Oh.
post
So that's sufficient.
and it would just be one agenda item to do that.
Yeah, I'm game to do that, however you feel is
Yeah.
How long
best.
do we have to publish the meeting in advance?
24 hours.
So,
I would propose that you make it like July 2nd or something, or like a day that where you're like a day where there might be low traffic, because like July 2nd is a holiday weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe do it that Saturday, be closed that day, and have that be the in-service day. I don't know.
Well,
Just not have to do it a day when we have workers, so.
yeah,
Right, Saturdays.
yeah, because some people maybe who weren't scheduled to work on a Saturday. And I'm wanting to get it done in June, just in case production was ahead of schedule. I mean, I
Oh, gotcha.
doubt that, but,
Gotcha, gotcha.
and,
And so you think it's 5, 6 people, a day's worth of work and you'll be done?
yeah, yeah. And hopefully less than a day's worth of work, but then there are some other things that we could do
I
too,
remember
but,
when we moved everything during the remodeling.
yeah,
We,
yeah.
he laughs.
I mean, I was,
Start very efficiently. By the time we got done,
Yeah.
people knew what they were supposed to do. But for the first hour and a half or 2 hours, sitting around drinking coffee. It's how to turn the lights on. Where's this? What's that? Where are we going to put this? We moved all sorts of shelves in one room, and then went, oh, no, these have to go in the other room.
Yeah.
And so, moving stuff 2 or 3 times, and it didn't start well, but by the time within the first
But-
day, we had figured out where everything
Yeah.
was going to go, and then people could work without reworking. So that's my question. If they know where everything's going to go, you have people that know what they're supposed to do, boom, 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 you move it, and 8 hours, you're all done, or 6 hours.
yeah, well, yeah.
so you're thinking that you'd want to do this on July 10th, which is a Sunday?
June 10th, I
June
was
10th,
thinking.
okay.
Because being a Friday, then we're not, I mean, we would need to reopen for the evening if it was a different weekday, whereas, Friday, we just close at 6 o'clock anyway. And so I thought that would be, and then we'd be back open.
Which day is the slowest day as far as foot traffic?
I'm sorry?
Which day of the week is the slowest as far as foot traffic?
Well, that's summertime, so it's, and, in the past, when there were programs in the library, the people would come and then they go check out books, with doing programming here again, we still get people to come to the library. There is a program that day, and so this is the one concern. There's a program, but it's at 6 o'clock on that Friday in the plaza. We have a traveling group coming and doing a performance there. So that would be the one concern. And Jean is on vacation. She's out visiting her daughter in Pennsylvania. She'll be back tomorrow, so I'd want to check with her if that'd be okay. But, if the library were closed for an in-service day that Friday, would people think, oh, that evening program was not going to happen then? So before I would bring that day as the final proposal. I mean, the Friday before would maybe work, but that's the first week of summer programming,
How about a
and I'll
Monday?
be on vacation. On a Monday, yeah, that would possibly work. The one thing is with being in summer hours and we're closed on Sundays, then we'd be closed to the public 2 days in a row, and
I was just thinking if you did it on a Monday and you didn't quite get finished, then you still have the rest of the week to
yeah.
do the little finish, whatever.
Yeah. But once Jean's back, I'll talk to her, and then,
Talk to Jim.
I'll get a specific day to figure out which,
A 10-minute meeting if we have to do that somehow.
Yeah. okay.
But potentially just by Zoom then, if it's
Yeah, I
just the
think,
one agenda
yeah, it could
item.
be. I mean,
We only need 4 of us, right?
mhm.
So when do you want to do that?
Probably sometime next week, because I also would want to, next week is the week before Memorial Day, I'd want to be able to, publicize that the library is going to be closed for in-service, at least 2 weeks in advance.
So are we sure we'll have do we have the product that we need to switch all this around?
Well, it's switching around before the product comes,
Okay.
because I don't
Oh,
want
'cause it's the end.
I don't want the end panels
Yeah,
on.
I was
That
thinking
would
it was
just,
the whole thing. This is
Yeah.
the end thing.
yeah.
Gotcha.
So, okay, so look for any days next week. I mean, would a noon Zoom meeting or a 5 o'clock Zoom meeting, what would you prefer for
Either.
and would next Tuesday work for, or what do you?
Tuesday might be the only day that works.
Because next week I'll have a school board meeting at 5 o'clock, so I can't do it then.
24th you're talking, right?
Yes,
Yeah, no.
At what time? 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock or noon?
5 o'clock doesn't work for me.
Let's do noon, if it's quick.
Who, can you, actually, I have Zoom right now. I could start a meeting. I've got Zoom for this month yet.
Well,
Or do you have?
if it's a 5-minute meeting, we don't need to have I can schedule the free version, and,
Oh, okay.
because that's just a limit to 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
But
Okay.
a 5 or 10-minute meeting will be
Okay.
fine.
I can probably do a noon on Tuesday. I'm working then, but I can just do it on my phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just shoot us a time and I'll let you know.
But you have to publish that Zoom link, right?
Yes. Yeah. So, it won't be here, but I would publish it on the city's, meeting page where all of our other meetings are.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to have a 10-minute Zoom meeting a week from today at noon for the one agenda item on whatever day you decide to close. And then in June, which would be our normal meeting, which would be the 21st, we would be meeting at the library and do some sort of training.
And,
No,
well,
we haven't yet. I'm just kind of throwing this out here.
Okay.
This is what we're thinking then. So then,
and for the June meeting, just as a reminder, that day, the third Tuesday, the 21st, may not work because City Council will be meeting on the 21st because the 20th, the city
Juneteenth.
offices are closed for Juneteenth.
but if we're meeting at the library, that affects you.
What time would you need to be over here if we meet at 5 o'clock? So you could be, so we could have a,
I could be there for 45 minutes.
okay, so then that would work. For a training session?
Yeah.
Or,
So I guess if we have something specific we would like Kevin to address, just let him know, and otherwise,
if you have
Right, your
ideas or
discretion.
requests,
ideas, yeah.
send them my way this next number of weeks.
And then the next business meeting would be July 19th, and that would be our annual meeting, and that would be when we would have officers and that sort of
Yep.
thing.
And have to select new officers.
Okay? Ooh,
So
that's gonna be
anybody
a tough
who
meeting for me.
is thinking about wanting to be an officer,
I might be tied up July 29th. So that will be a tough time for me to come, but
so do you think then for the meeting schedule, we need a motion?
I think we do, yeah. So I was just trying to kind of summarize, someone else has to put it in a motion.
I move to make our meetings here, the official business meetings being held in the odd months at the regular date and time, and the even months be in-service training at the library.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That puts our, again, our next meeting is going to be a short Zoom meeting, May 24th at noon, unless we hear differently from Kevin. And then June 21st, we will be at the library at 5 o'clock. And then July 19th will be the next business meeting. I will have family in town that week. I might not be able to make that.
I was going to say that we should probably change the date, because I think if it's the annual meeting with officer elections, we need to be present.
Well, you can railroad in somebody that's not here.
Right then.
Well,
Then they're done that.
and I think Ann would maybe like to have a reprieve.
Yeah, I'm looking to go off
As president.
as president. Yeah, not the board. I'll stay on the board, but I've been president for 2 years, so.
You've done your time.
Well, I want you all to have this experience.
And I think Denny would be willing, but a bit concerned about when they're traveling, if he was out of town leading a meeting via Zoom, but the vice president could lead the meeting in person if Denny is connecting via Zoom. Just a thought, so.
And Deb, you're right. I feel like we've got some senior committee board members.
Did you just use the word senior?
Yeah, it's okay.
As a senior, I've been like, been on the board longer.
Experience.
Experience.
I really haven't been on much longer than you guys.
Well, y'all be thinking about it.
We'll be thinking.
So that motion passed.
Okay. All right.
All right. All right. Yeah, I mean, here's what I got. Motion that, and I'll fill in all of the rest of the words, but that the official business meetings will be held odd months, and then training sessions would be held even months in the library.
Business meetings here in council chambers. As far as you know, Denny, as July 19th, you would still be the vice chair. Or as far as you know, will you be here?
To my knowledge right now, yes.
Okay, well, if we have a real conflict, we may need to switch weeks, but I don't think I will, but I don't have final dates yet, so. Okay, so we're done with that. Next is committee reports. Any committees? Not that I know of. Board input?
Do we want a committee for, I don't know that we need a credit, I'm just bringing it up, mentioning it, for the accreditation.
I thought you were going to say for the clerk.
I did too. That's what I was waiting
Now
for.
we're way more excited.
I mean, just to collect hours, just to
Well,
collect
she
the
had said when
hours.
we go to the library, we might have good
Do we
news.
not?
Yeah, because I need to track that, because then I need to,
Okay, love it.
so, and I put the spreadsheet together already and put the session with, the discussion with Brenda in as well. I also emailed her, making sure that was okay.
Any other board input?
Yeah, do we have any thoughts as a group again about foundation reformation or anything along those lines? Yeah, Sheila Slater's out.
Did we confirm that she dissolved the nonprofit?
Um,
She didn't file a.
She didn't file.
It was dissolved by the Secretary of State's office in,
First last year,
Right.
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
It would be a new organization, which would be a good thing.
We'd have to
Wouldn't
start
have any ties to
completely
that.
over and might have to actually even get
Well, and from what I've,
somebody to do the legal paperwork too, because I think the stuff that Jim Taylor did to form that one is now
yeah.
not usable to start again, and you probably want a different name and everything else so that nothing's tied to anything in the past.
But we could also do the paperwork.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
we-
because I could just go look at some other library foundations' original filings
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
do
But I
that.
just, do we want to
Do we have a need for one right now?
I guess that's gonna be my question too.
is, do we have an idea for one? Do we have a?
The only reason to set one up would be if we plan to be intentional about fundraising,
Correct.
because that would be the place to, yeah,
Because that's where you want it to take place.
yeah. So if we're not planning on doing fundraising, do we need to do fundraising?
Well, no, I mean, yeah, it depends on what we want to do. You know, it's interesting because the accreditation, the library accreditation, then the next levels, the higher two levels, have listed, you know, do you have a friends group or foundation? It's like two separate. And, you know, this last group, it was an interesting oddity because they call it the Friends Foundation, so they kind of tried to do two
There
things
had
in
been
one name.
there had been a different group
Yeah.
prior. That's why
yes.
they came up with that name.
A lot of friends groups that other libraries have, it seems that they are kind of volunteer groups that there's an annual fee to be a member. So that's kind of a fundraising, that's the way they fundraise. And then the friends groups often will do the used book sale for the library. Well, we have a couple of volunteers who do that, and then the money goes directly in every week to the board's account. So, and that's one of their larger fundraisers is, you know, you doing used book sales.
Another thought, I guess, that brings up is we have volunteers that are doing the used book sale now, but they won't last forever. And what's our idea for when they're not going to do that anymore?
Well,
The succession plan.
Yeah.
I have had,
Try to get other volunteers to do the same thing.
yeah, well, because I've had some requests of people who, you know, said, do you take volunteers? And, you know, then I asked Joan and Mary if they could use help, and they said, not right now, or we, you know, we've got it.
At some point,
But,
maybe
yeah, because, you know, the union contract also does not let us use volunteers to do the work that normal paid employees would do. You know, and so one other thing that we could have them do would, you know, an easy thing would be resell books, but that's what our paid part-time employees do. So we do have some volunteers who help maybe Jean with programming, and so that is another idea, but she's satisfied with the volunteers she has now. So, but volunteers in the future to do the book sale would be useful. And then the foundation idea, I know like Huron, they have a foundation that manages their endowments, because Huron has some significant endowments that, you know, families over the years, they have this family endowment. I don't know how big it is, but, you know, in their reports,
5 or 6 figures.
I'm thinking it must be, because, you know, then they talk about what are we going to do with the proceeds from that fund to how are we going to spend those monies. But we don't have, and are you aware of any, you know, one community in the community who's been interested in?
Aberdeen had a huge foundation,
Yeah,
at least at one time, and gave $4 million to the library, to the city, and did a $7 million library expansion.
well, yeah, they did that, yeah.
Half of it was paid from foundation
Volunteers.
money and not from city money. But they had to convince the city that, hey, you're going to do this, here's $4 million, and you better put $4 million in, and we're going to go. And, you know, so they had a foundation that drove their library expansion.
Mhm. So at this point, I'm not aware of, you know, anyone who has, you know, 5 or 6 figures that they want to donate to you know, to an endowment for the library, or other things. I mean, we've only had, the one family since I started give, you know, consistently at the year end. So, I mean, that would be something for further discussion.
During the remodel, Randall gave Dr. Randall's son, that foundation gave us $10,000 or $20,000 for the teen room. And they could possibly be approached
For that.
because they gave money from that aspect before. And so they-
For furniture, I believe, because the sign says for furnishings
Was it
and the,
furnishings or-
I think that's what the sign says, yeah.
So we need to be aware of that. For if we redo that room or do something else to it. It's always something to think about. I was just wondering if we don't have really any short-term foundation ideas, and we just let that go, and if it comes back, we think about how it could work. I don't see
think
any,
that sounds
I don't see
sensible.
any pressing need. but-
No, I don't either. And, you know, you've got to have 3 directors
Yep,
to
yeah,
set it
yeah,
up.
enough
And so,
people.
you know, who that be and who would do
Yep.
fundraising and so on. So, I mean, it seems odd not to have one, but we don't have any plans for fundraising, so.
But if somebody
why not
approaches
take
us,
one?
we'd be willing to talk to them about it.
Mhm.
Well, and the other thing about the Friends Foundation that has folded now, I mean, it just seemed that it was their gig and they did what they wanted to do, but there wasn't coordination. I mean, even with, I mean, I know that Jim Taylor helped them do the paperwork, but it didn't seem to me that there was a lot of coordination between the board and that group in forming and discussing goals.
Not at all. No.
Yeah, which that's not really, I mean, as we said before, that's not what we want.
Any other board input? I just had one thing to say, is that I ran across one of your employees over the weekend and just kind of like, oh, randomly, yes. Okay, well, she goes, and I turned to leave and she said, just a minute. I just want to tell you, working for Kevin has been a joy. He's so good. I love it. It's great. So there you go. She's
Thank
really enjoyed her time with you.
Thank you. That's
There
very
you go. Anything else? And otherwise, I adjourn the meeting. 5:58.